Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Relationships. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what really happens when you remove yourself from someone's life, intentionally or unintentionally? What goes through their mind when you're no longer around? This concept, disappearing or stepping back, can feel like an act of reclaiming your power, especially in relationships where you've felt unseen, unappreciated, or undervalued. But let's be honest, folks, the decision to walk away isn't always easy. It can be a leap of faith, a decision that's filled with self-doubt and questions like, am I doing the right thing? Will they even notice I'm gone? Will this really have any impact on them? Here's the truth. When you step away, people notice. Even if they don't show it right away, your absence creates ripples in their emotions, thoughts, and actions. Whether it's the sting of rejection, the emptiness of missing you, or the overwhelming curiosity about why you left. Your disappearance triggers a series of internal responses that are often far more profound than they'd ever admit. And that's what today's video is all about, diving deep into the emotions, reflections, and realizations people experience when you simply disappear. Now, before we dig into the 9 things they feel, let's take a moment to address why disappearing can sometimes be the most stoic and powerful move you can make. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our emotions, and our boundaries, while letting go of what we can't, like the opinions or reactions of others. When you decide to step back, you're choosing yourself, reclaiming your inner peace, and giving the other person space to reflect on what your presence truly meant in their life. But folks, this isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. Walking away with grace and dignity is an act of self-respect. It's not about causing pain or confusion for someone else. It's about recognizing when staying in a situation no longer serves your well-being. And often, that absence speaks louder than any words ever could. Let me share something important. When you disappear, the other person is forced to confront their own emotions and actions. Whether they realize it immediately or over time, your absence compels them to reflect on what they had and what they've lost. This process can bring a whirlwind of emotions, regret, curiosity, even a newfound respect for what you brought to their life. But most importantly, it gives them the space to grow, just as it gives you the opportunity to refocus on your own journey. One of the first things they'll likely feel is the sting of rejection. Even if your departure wasn't intended to hurt them, the very act of stepping away sends a powerful message. I am choosing myself. This can challenge their ego and make them question why you're no longer willing to be part of their life. From there, the void of missing you begins to creep in. They may not realize it immediately, but over time, your absence becomes noticeable. A quiet reminder of the role you played in their life, the moments they may have taken for granted. And then comes the curiosity, folks. Why did they leave? What are they doing now? Have they moved on? These questions can become consuming, especially if they didn't anticipate your departure. It's human nature to wonder about the things we no longer have, and your disappearance often amplifies this curiosity tenfold. But here's where it gets interesting. As they begin to reflect, a deeper layer of emotions starts to emerge. Self-reflection. They're forced to consider their own actions, their role in the dynamic, and the reasons why you chose to leave. This can be a transformative moment for them, a chance to grow and understand themselves better, even if it's a difficult process. Folks, before we dive deeper into these 9 stages, let me ask you something. Have you ever stepped back from someone's life and wondered what they might be feeling? If so, type I've been there in the comments. This journey isn't just about understanding them, it's about gaining clarity and peace for yourself too. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer picture of what happens emotionally when you disappear, and why stepping back can be such a powerful act of self-care. And don't forget, if you're finding these insights helpful, hit that subscribe button and join our Stoic community. We're here to navigate relationships with wisdom, strength, and a focus on self-growth. Let's get started with the first thing they feel: the sting of rejection. Number 1. The sting of rejection. All right, folks, let's dive into the first thing they feel when you disappear: the sting of rejection. No matter how strong or self-assured someone may seem on the outside, the feeling of being rejected hits everyone on some level. When you step away, it sends a powerful message: intentional or not, you're no longer a priority in my life. Think about it. Have you ever had someone walk away from you, leaving you questioning what went wrong? It's a tough feeling, isn't it? That initial sting of rejection often triggers an emotional response, making them feel confused, hurt, or even defensive. When someone realizes you've chosen to distance yourself, it forces them to confront the fact that they no longer have access to you in the same way they once did. This can be especially challenging for people who are used to feeling in control or who have taken your presence for granted. Here's the interesting part, folks. The sting of rejection isn't just about losing you, it's also about their ego. When someone experiences rejection, it challenges their sense of self-worth. They may start questioning, why did this happen? What does this say about me? This internal dialogue can lead to feelings of inadequacy or frustration as they grapple with the realization that they've lost something valuable, whether they're ready to admit it or not. From a Stoic perspective, rejection is a natural part of life and relationships. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control how others perceive us, but we can control how we handle our decisions and their consequences. By choosing to step away, you're not seeking to harm the other person. You're simply prioritizing your own well-being. And their reaction to your absence is a reflection of their own inner struggles, not a judgment of your worth. Now let's talk about why this sting can linger. Rejection often leaves people replaying interactions in their minds, searching for clues or answers about what went wrong. They may start noticing the small moments they overlooked or the times they didn't value your presence enough. This process can create a deeper sense of regret, making your absence feel even more profound. But here's the key takeaway, folks. While rejection may sting initially, it also serves as a wake-up call. It pushes people to reflect on their actions, their behavior, and their role in the dynamic. And for some, this moment of self-reflection can be a powerful motivator for growth. So, if you've ever been in a situation where stepping away was the best choice for your peace of mind, take a moment to affirm this: I choose myself. Drop that in the comments if this resonates with you, and stick around, because the next thing they feel goes even deeper. It's all about missing your presence. Let's keep going. Number 2. The void of missing you. All right, folks, let's move on to the second thing they feel when you disappear: the void of missing you. When someone is used to having you in their life, your absence leaves a noticeable gap. Even if they didn't always show appreciation for your presence, the moment you're gone, they begin to feel the weight of what they've lost. Here's something to think about. Have you ever stopped hearing from someone and suddenly found yourself replaying memories of your time together? That's exactly what happens when you disappear from someone's life. They start to notice the little things: your laughter, the way you supported them, or the comfort of simply knowing you were there. These memories often hit harder than they expect, creating an emotional void that's difficult to ignore. The interesting thing about missing someone is that it doesn't always happen right away. At first, they might not even notice the impact of your absence. But over time, as they face situations where you would have been there, the realization sets in. They might reach for their phone to share good news or think of you when they're struggling, only to be reminded that you're no longer a part of their life. This sense of emptiness can be both painful and humbling, especially if they took your presence for granted. Now, let's bring a Stoic perspective into this, folks. Stoicism reminds us that our value isn't diminished just because someone didn't recognize it in the moment. Your worth is constant, regardless of whether others appreciate it. When you step back and allow someone to feel your absence, it gives them the opportunity to reflect on how much you added to their life. And whether or not they choose to acknowledge it, the void you leave behind speaks volumes about the impact you made. But let's be clear, the goal of stepping away isn't to make someone miss you, it's to prioritize your own well-being. Missing someone is their journey, not yours. Your role is to focus on your growth and peace, knowing that your decision to step back was rooted in self-respect. So folks, if you've ever felt the weight of someone missing you after you stepped away, remember this: your presence is powerful. Drop "I leave a mark" in the comments if you've seen this happen in your own life. And stick around, because the next thing they feel takes them even deeper into self-reflection. Let's dive into it next. Number 3. Curiosity and overthinking. All right, folks, let's dive into the third thing they feel when you disappear: curiosity and overthinking. When someone notices your absence, their mind often goes into overdrive, trying to piece together what happened. This curiosity isn't just surface level. It can become a constant question in their mind, especially if your decision to step away was unexpected. Let me ask you this: have you ever found yourself wondering, why did they leave? What are they doing now? That's exactly what they go through when you disappear. They begin replaying old conversations, interactions, and even the smallest moments, searching for clues. Their mind races with questions like, did I say something wrong? Did I do something to push them away? This kind of overthinking can be overwhelming, especially if they're not used to being without you. What makes curiosity so powerful is its ability to linger. Even if they try to distract themselves, unanswered questions about your absence keep popping up. It's human nature to seek closure, and when they don't have it, their thoughts often spiral into a loop of overanalyzing. They might even start imagining scenarios or creating assumptions about why you left, sometimes leading to regret or self-doubt. Here's where Stoicism offers a valuable perspective, folks. When you choose to step away, you're not responsible for answering every question they may have. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control, our actions and decisions, not how others perceive or interpret them. By disappearing with dignity and without drama, you send a clear message that your choice wasn't about creating confusion, but about prioritizing your own peace. It's also important to understand that curiosity often reflects the impact you had on their life. If they're overthinking your absence, it's because your presence was meaningful enough to leave a lasting impression. This doesn't mean you owe them answers, but it does highlight the value you brought to the relationship. And sometimes, folks, it's in those quiet moments of curiosity that they begin to truly realize what they've lost. So, how do you handle this? The Stoic way is to let go of the need to explain or justify your actions. Trust that your decision to step back was the right one for your well-being, and allow them to process their curiosity in their own time. Their overthinking is part of their journey, not yours. All right, folks, if you've ever stepped away and noticed someone overthinking your absence, let's affirm this together. I leave them wondering. Drop that in the comments and stay tuned, because the next thing they feel takes a deeper dive into self-reflection and how your absence challenges them. Let's keep going. Number 4. self-reflection and regret. All right, folks, let's move into the fourth thing they feel when you disappear: self-reflection and regret. Your absence forces people to turn inward, and that's often when the self-reflection begins. They start to question their actions, behaviors, and decisions, wondering if they could have done something differently to keep you in their life. This phase isn't just about missing you, it's about examining their role in why you're no longer there. Think about it. Have you ever had someone step away from your life, leaving you to replay moments in your mind? That's exactly what happens during self-reflection. They start remembering the times they might have dismissed you, taken you for granted, or failed to appreciate the value you brought to the relationship. Regret often follows, as they realize the things they could have done but didn't. It's in these moments that they begin to see your worth more clearly, albeit too late. Regret is a powerful emotion, folks, and it often comes hand in hand with the acknowledgement of mistakes. When someone reflects on what they've lost, they may feel pangs of guilt for not treating you better or for letting the relationship deteriorate. Even if they never admit it out loud, this regret can linger and shape how they approach future relationships. Your decision to step away becomes a lesson for them, a moment that pushes them to grow and, hopefully, to value connections more deeply. Now here's the Stoic perspective. Their self-reflection and regret are part of their journey, not yours. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our own growth and not to carry the burden of others' realizations. When you choose to walk away, you're not responsible for how they process their emotions. Instead, you're giving yourself the space to thrive while allowing them the opportunity to learn from the experience. It's also important to understand that regret doesn't necessarily mean reconciliation. They may regret how things ended, but that doesn't mean the relationship needs to resume. Your absence serves as a boundary, a reminder that you've chosen to prioritize your peace and well-being. Regret, while painful, can be a powerful catalyst for their personal growth, and that in itself is valuable. So, folks, if you've ever seen someone reflect on their behavior after you stepped away, let's affirm this together. My absence teaches. Drop that in the comments, and if you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe for more wisdom on navigating relationships with clarity and strength. And stay tuned, because the next thing they feel dives into how your absence challenges their ego. Let's keep going. Number 5. The blow to their ego. All right, folks, let's dive into the fifth thing they feel when you disappear: the blow to their ego. Whether they realize it or not, your absence challenges their sense of control and self-importance. When someone is used to having you around, whether as a source of support, validation, or simply as part of their routine, your decision to step back can feel like a direct hit to their ego. Let me ask you this. Have you ever removed yourself from someone's life and noticed how they started acting differently? This is because your absence disrupts the dynamic they were comfortable with. Suddenly, they're no longer in a position to rely on you, get your attention, or take your presence for granted. And for people who tie their sense of worth to how others respond to them, this can be a tough pill to swallow. The blow to their ego often sparks a defensive reaction. They might downplay your absence, act indifferent, or even try to portray themselves as unaffected. But deep down, folks, they're grappling with the reality that they no longer have the influence or control they thought they did. This realization can trigger feelings of insecurity, frustration, or even resentment as they try to reconcile their ego with the reality of your absence. Here's the Stoic insight. This isn't about you. Their ego and how they react to your disappearance are reflections of their own internal struggles. Stoicism reminds us that we're not responsible for managing others' egos or emotions. Your decision to step back is rooted in self-respect, not in trying to provoke a reaction. By staying grounded and focusing on your own peace, you avoid being drawn into their emotional turbulence. But let's take it a step further. A blow to the ego isn't always a bad thing. It can also be an opportunity for growth. When someone is forced to confront their dependence on others for validation, it can push them to reflect on their priorities and develop a stronger sense of self. Your absence becomes a silent teacher, showing them that relationships are a privilege, not a given. So how should you handle this? Stay consistent with your boundaries and remember that their reactions aren't a reflection of your worth. Whether they learn from the experience or not is entirely up to them. Your job isn't to mend their ego, it's to honor your decision to step back and continue focusing on your own growth. All right, folks, if you've ever seen someone struggle with their ego after you disappeared, let's affirm this together. My absence empowers me. Drop that in the comments and don't forget to hit subscribe if you're enjoying these insights. Stick around because the next thing they feel reveals how they try to fill the void you left behind. Let's keep going. Number 6, trying to fill the void. All right, folks, let's talk about the 6th thing they feel when you disappear, trying to fill the void. When someone experiences your absence, it often creates a gap in their life, one they may not have anticipated. To cope with this, they might try to fill that void with distractions, new connections, or even habits that attempt to replace what you brought into their life. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever seen someone suddenly surround themselves with new people or hobbies after a significant person stepped away from their life? This is a natural response to feeling empty or unsettled. They're trying to patch the emotional gap you left, but often these efforts fall short because they're not addressing the real issue, the loss of your presence and the unique role you played in their life. At first, they might throw themselves into distractions. Maybe it's excessive socializing, diving into work, or taking up new hobbies. While these activities might keep them busy, they don't necessarily provide the same connection or value they had with you. Over time, they might even realize that no matter how much they fill their schedule, the void remains. It's a subtle yet powerful reminder of the impact you had on their life. Here's where Stoicism offers clarity, folks. Stoicism teaches us that the relationships we build should be based on genuine value, not temporary needs or distractions. When you step away and someone tries to replace you with superficial fixes, it's not your responsibility to validate or mend that void. Your absence allows them the space to reflect on what they truly need, not just someone to fill a gap, but meaningful connections and personal growth. Now, this doesn't mean their attempts to fill the void are inherently wrong. It's a natural part of coping. But as they go through this process, they often start to realize that not everything or everyone can replace the depth and authenticity of the relationship they had with you. And this realization, folks, can lead them to reflect on their own priorities and what they value most in their connections. So, how should you respond if you notice this happening? The Stoic way is simple. Stay focused on your journey. You stepped away for a reason, whether it was to protect your peace, enforce boundaries, or prioritize your well-being. Let them navigate their own path, knowing that their process of filling the void is part of their growth, not your burden. All right, folks, if you've ever seen someone try to fill the gap after you stepped away, let's affirm this together. I leave a meaningful void. Drop that in the comments, and if you're finding these insights valuable, don't forget to subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and strategies for building stronger, healthier relationships. Stick around, because the next thing they feel takes us deeper into how they come to terms with your absence. Let's keep going. Number 7, coming to terms with reality. All right, folks, let's explore the seventh thing they feel when you disappear, coming to terms with reality. After the initial shock, the feelings of curiosity, regret, and attempts to fill the void, there comes a moment of reckoning. This is when they begin to accept that you're no longer a part of their life, and they have to face the reality of the situation. Here's something to consider. Have you ever experienced a moment when you finally accepted that someone you cared about wasn't coming back? It's a bittersweet feeling, isn't it? That's exactly what happens when someone comes to terms with your absence. They may have gone through denial, tried to distract themselves, or even attempted to reconnect, but eventually they have to confront the truth. You're gone, and things won't go back to how they were. This phase of acceptance can be both liberating and painful for them. On one hand, they begin to let go of the emotional turmoil caused by your absence. On the other hand, they're left with the reality of what they've lost, which can lead to feelings of sadness or even longing. It's a moment of clarity that forces them to acknowledge the role you played in their life and how things have changed without you. From a Stoic perspective, this phase is a natural part of life. Stoicism teaches us that change and loss are inevitable, and learning to accept these truths is key to finding peace. When someone comes to terms with your absence, it's not about forgetting you, it's about integrating the experience into their journey and moving forward. Similarly, your decision to step away was rooted in your own growth and well-being, and their process of acceptance shouldn't shake your resolve. Here's the important part, folks. Acceptance doesn't always mean closure. They might come to terms with your absence, but still carry the memory of your impact. That's not a reflection of unfinished business. It's a testament to the connection you shared. You leave a mark, and that's something they'll carry with them, whether consciously or subconsciously. So, how should you approach this phase? The answer is simple. Keep moving forward with grace. Their acceptance is a sign that they're beginning to grow and adapt, just as you have. Trust the process and remember that your absence was a choice for your own peace, not a punishment for them. All right, folks, if you've ever seen someone come to terms with your absence and reflect on your impact, let's affirm this together. I made a difference. Drop that in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you're finding these insights helpful. Stick around, because the next thing they feel will uncover the lessons they take away from your departure. Let's keep going. Number 8. The lessons they take away. All right, folks, let's dive into the 8th thing they feel when you disappear, the lessons they take away. Whether they realize it or not, your absence often becomes a powerful teacher. It pushes them to reflect not only on your relationship, but also on their own behavior, choices, and priorities. This phase is where growth truly begins for them, as they start to understand the deeper meaning behind your departure. Let's think about this for a moment. Have you ever had someone leave your life, and only after they were gone, you started to recognize the lessons they left behind? That's exactly what happens here. Your absence forces them to step back and evaluate what went wrong, what they could have done differently, and, most importantly, how they can grow from the experience. It's often an uncomfortable process, but it's also one of the most transformative. The lessons they take away might vary depending on the nature of your relationship. Perhaps they learn the importance of valuing the people in their life instead of taking them for granted. Or maybe they realize that their actions, or lack thereof, played a role in why you chose to step away. These realizations often lead to a deeper sense of accountability as they start to see how their choices impacted not just you, but their own personal growth as well. Here's where Stoicism offers a valuable perspective, folks. Stoicism reminds us that every experience, whether positive or negative, is an opportunity to learn and grow. Your decision to walk away wasn't just about prioritizing your peace. it was also a moment that invited them to reflect and evolve. By stepping back, you created a space for them to confront their own shortcomings and make changes, whether they choose to or not. It's also important to note, folks, that the lessons they take away aren't always immediate. Growth takes time, and sometimes the impact of your absence doesn't fully sink in until much later. They might not realize the depth of what they've learned until they face similar situations in the future. That's when your influence truly shines, even from afar. So, how should you view this phase? The Stoic approach is to trust that your actions have meaning, even if you don't see the results right away. Their journey of learning and growth is theirs to take, and it's not something you need to oversee or validate. By focusing on your own path, you allow them the freedom to grow in their own time. All right, folks, if you've ever felt that your absence taught someone an important lesson, let's affirm this together. I leave wisdom behind. Drop that in the comments, and if you're enjoying these insights, don't forget to hit subscribe for more Stoic strategies and reflections on relationships. Stay tuned, because the final thing they feel ties everything together in a way you won't want to miss. Let's keep going. Number 9. The longing for closure. All right, folks, we've reached the final thing they feel when you disappear, the longing for closure. When you step away, especially without a detailed explanation, it often leaves people with unanswered questions. This lack of closure can linger in their minds, making them reflect on the relationship and wonder about what could have been. Let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself replaying a situation in your head, trying to find clarity after someone left your life? That's exactly what happens when closure is missing. They start to think about the things they wish they'd said, the actions they wish they'd taken, and whether or not there was anything they could have done differently to keep you around. It's not just about understanding what happened, it's about finding a way to make peace with it. The longing for closure often ties together all the emotions we've discussed so far: regret, curiosity, self-reflection, and even acceptance. They may wonder why you chose to leave and what role they played in your decision. But here's the tricky part. Closure doesn't always come from the other person. In many cases, folks, they're left to create closure for themselves, reconciling their feelings without your involvement. Here's where Stoicism offers a profound insight. Closure is not something we owe to anyone. Stoicism teaches us to accept that not all questions will be answered and not all endings will be tied up neatly. Your decision to step away was rooted in your need for peace, not in providing explanations or justifications to others. While they may yearn for closure, it's ultimately up to them to find it within themselves. This phase can be a turning point for them. The longing for closure forces them to confront their emotions head-on, leading to growth and a deeper understanding of their own needs and priorities. It's not always an easy process, but it's an essential one. And while you may never know how they process your absence, trust that your actions have created an opportunity for them to reflect and evolve. So, how should you approach this? The Stoic way is to remain compassionate but firm. You don't need to reopen old wounds or revisit the past to satisfy someone else's need for closure. Instead, focus on continuing your own journey with clarity and confidence, knowing that your choice to walk away was made with intention and self-respect. All right, folks, let's affirm this understanding together. I don't owe closure. Drop that in the comments. And thank you for joining me on this journey through the 9 things people feel when you disappear. If you found these insights valuable, don't forget to hit subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and reflections. Stay tuned for the closing thoughts that will tie all of this together and leave you with a powerful message. Let's wrap this up. Number 10. The realization of your value. All right, folks, let's dive into the final insight, the realization of your value. When all the emotions, reflections, and attempts to fill the void settle, there's often a moment of clarity. This is when they come to truly understand the value you brought into their life. Your absence acts as a lens, magnifying the qualities they may have overlooked while you were present. Think about it for a second. Have you ever fully appreciated someone only after they were no longer part of your life? That's exactly what happens during this phase. They start to see the ways you contributed to their life, whether it was your support, kindness, or even the energy you brought into every interaction. It's often in this stillness, after all the noise of regret and overthinking fades, that the realization hits hardest. You mattered. The realization of your value is bittersweet for them. On one hand, it's a moment of deep appreciation. On the other, it's accompanied by the understanding that it's too late to change things. This can lead to a mix of gratitude and longing as they reflect on what they had and what they've lost. It's a powerful reminder that the way we treat others in the moment truly matters, because the opportunity to express appreciation doesn't always last forever. From a Stoic perspective, this realization is a natural outcome of living authentically and staying true to yourself. Stoicism teaches us to act with integrity and kindness, not because we expect recognition, but because it aligns with our values. When someone comes to realize your worth after you've stepped away, it's a testament to the authenticity you brought into the relationship. Their realization is not about seeking validation. It's about acknowledging the impact you made. Here's the key takeaway, folks. This realization doesn't need to change your course. Whether they recognize your value or not, your worth remains constant. The Stoic way is to find peace in knowing that you acted with intention and left a meaningful impression. Their acknowledgement is a reflection of their growth, not a requirement for yours. So, how should you respond if they try to reconnect after this realization? The choice is yours. Stoicism reminds us to evaluate relationships based on mutual respect and alignment with our values. If you believe the connection can be rebuilt on healthier terms, you can choose to engage. But if you feel that stepping away was the right decision, it's okay to honor that choice and continue moving forward. All right, folks, let's affirm this together. My value remains. Drop that in the comments, and thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the emotions people experience when you disappear. If you've found these insights helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe for more Stoic wisdom and strategies to navigate relationships with clarity and strength. All right, folks, that wraps up our journey through the 9 things people feel when you simply disappear. I hope today's video gave you clarity, perspective, and a sense of empowerment when it comes to prioritizing your peace and well-being. Remember, your absence isn't just a void. It's a statement, a boundary, and sometimes a powerful lesson for those around you. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our values, and our decisions, and to let go of what we cannot, like others' reactions or feelings. Whether someone misses you, regrets their actions, or realizes your value, it's ultimately about their growth, not your responsibility. So, take a moment to reflect. How has stepping back impacted your life and relationships? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences and insights. If you found value in today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, hit subscribe to join our Stoic community. Together, we're navigating relationships with wisdom, resilience, and clarity. Thank you for spending time with me today. Until next time, folks, keep calm, stay true to yourself, and remember, your worth is constant, with or without anyone's acknowledgement. See you in the next video.